to the Jim Bakker Show. I'm your co-host, Tammy Sue Bakker. Today, our very special guests are Ray Gano and Derek Gilbert. Now, please give a warm welcome to my parents and the hosts of the Jim Bakker Show, Jim and Lori Bakker.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to Grace Street.
Yes.
We have an amazing show, a lot to talk about. I'm angry again, so...
He's not angry at
What's
you.
in it, right?
Yeah.
You're passionate.
You're passionate.
We have...
with a little anger, but the Bible says to be angry and sin not. Remember
It's a new show called Moments with Anger with Jim Bakker. Bernie Sanders just said something that makes me mad.
Yes.
Yes.
And I make all the church people mad because, you know, our special guest last week, David Horowitz, he said the problem right now is Christians don't stand up for what they believe.
That's right.
Isn't that right?
Yes. And yes, he did. He said, actually, most people that are Christians, most were born and raised Republican, and that we were taught to be nice and, you know, not to come against things. And he was just like, because you have to stand up for what you believe in.
We are in the last days. We're in the final time. We're in the book of Revelation. All of it's happening, and yet millions of church people are hiding under the blankets or hiding under the bed or hiding in the pews or something because they won't stand up. And we have got to stand up. We stood up and voted, and we made a change.
Yes, we did.
But it's time now we stay standing up.
Yes.
And our special guest today, Ray Gano.
It's great to have you here. So nice to meet you.
And his book is called Surviving the Coming Storm.
Yes.
I'll tell you what, if there's ever been a warfare of storm, we're in one right now.
Oh, amen. Yeah, definitely, sir. I'm originally from California, but we live in Texas. In fact, I moved to Texas as fast as I could.
Right.
Texas.
Yeah, Texas is a great state.
I'll
We love
tell you,
Texas.
a lot of my pastor friends moved to Texas because they're very kind to church people.
Oh, yeah, very much so. We're very, very Bible-oriented state, very conservative state.
So you have children?
We have 4 kids, yes.
4 kids. Your wife is Tracy?
Tracy, yes. And she was a package deal, so I got her and the 4 kids. We got wonderful kids. I love my kids dearly.
You have a magazine called
Prophezine.
Like magazine?
Yes, Prophecy Magazine. It's one of the olden-time sayings, PZ, Prophezine, and been doing that since 1991.
Good.
Been doing everything on the internet. I'm one of the young internet.
Newsletter, magazine kind of
I send
thing?
out still 20 to 30 pages every Monday.
Thousands of people are taking that.
Wow.
And
you
you're going to tell...
started in 91 doing that.
1991.
You were really early on.
Yeah.
Very few people were doing anything like that in 91.
You were in the middle of an earthquake, I think.
Yeah. I was in the Loma Prieta earthquake. I was in the middle of that.
Did
Learned
that kind of
a lot.
kick you off about getting prepared?
It really did. It helped me with what I call my 5-gallon bucket. And I made a 5-gallon bucket of survival gear so that anytime anything would happen again, I'd be able to grab it and get out.
Mondo, is our buckets 5 gallons?
Yes, sir. We got 5-gallon and 6-gallon buckets.
The big buckets.
Yeah.
And we fill them with food now, so enough for total survival.
Yep.
In fact, I am feeling so strong that people just got to keep preparing.
Right.
Because people will settle back and not do it. And then it's too late. And we need to be prepared.
Yeah, you know, here in the Ozarks just a few days ago, power has been out in Nixa. We had an earthquake just a few days ago. I mean, you just never know what can go wrong. And if you're not ready, you're going to be caught unaware. And that's the scariest part, especially when you got kids and they're depending on you. I'd rather be called crazy now and be called a hero later than not being prepared.
Yeah.
That's right. That's good.
You know, Mondo, I'm going to jump into something right on the top because I've been feeling so strong about this. We have our big buckets, and we have 5 and 6 gallon buckets of food that lasts 25 years, and you know about that.
Yes.
And a lot of people have not even started. Some of you watch my show, you've never, ever even ordered 1 bucket of food, 1 package even of food. And so today, we hope that many, many, many will get started.
Yes.
1 Peter 3:15, and this is what drives me. 1 Peter 3:15 says, always be ready to share the hope that's within
I love
you.
your hat.
In
I just saw that.
Oh, thank you.
Now, I just saw it on the screen there.
Yeah.
Go ahead, forgive me. We
Yeah.
read the scripture. This man believes in the cross.
Yeah.
And I'm going to tell you something. I'm going to share something.
I love it.
I'm going to share in a few minutes about what's going on, about someone who told somebody under oath
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
they could not, they weren't suited.
They're not
For-
fit, is what they call.
for
Christians
the-
are not fit to be in public office.
He was nominated by Mr. Trump, our president, to be deputy director of the White House Office of Management and Budget. And because he is a born-again Christian who believes that Jesus Christ is the way, the only way to be born again, to go to heaven, he said, Bernie Sanders said, you're not fit.
Yep.
Is that right?
That is correct. That is correct. That's what he said. He says Christians are not fit for public office.
I mean, I want to tell you something. Jesus died on the cross for me.
That's right.
And you're telling me, a politician?
Right. Yeah.
I mean, what the politicians are doing today? They just had another, not a party, but a play in New York City
Oh, boy.
where they killed Donald Trump again.
Yes, I know. It's horrible.
What's going on, people?
I know.
Are you guys
it's
with this or
shocking.
not? Come on, what's
Absolutely.
going on?
You know, I found it very interesting. Delta, after they found out what was going on in this play and that they're depicting Trump's assassination
Right.
instead of Caesar, Delta and Bank of America both pulled their funding out because they said if we would have known ahead of time that this is what the issue or this is what you were going to cover in this play, we would never put money in it.
That's right.
I think they're. I mean,
That's
I think
good,
it's great
Delta
they're
and
all.
Bank of America.
Derek, what is it that you said to me that people believe what's happening right now with the play?
Well, there's a fellow who's a very famous cartoonist, a fellow named Scott Adams. He created the Dilbert cartoon, and he's analyzing this. He's an expert in persuasion and how people are able to have their minds changed about certain issues. He said in America right now, it's like there are two movies that are playing on this giant screen. One movie is the one in which people like the people in this play are watching, in which we've inflicted this horrible monster on the world, and so everybody knows in their minds that it's okay to make this kind of a joke about this horrible monster that we've elected to the presidency. But that runs smack into the other movie that's playing, which is the one that we're all in,
Yeah.
in which we've elected a man to make a change in the government and to fight for the average American again.
Yes.
And for whatever reason, it startles these people when they realize that their movie is not the same one that the rest of America's watching.
Right.
The same thing that happened when that so-called comedian Kathy Griffin
Right.
did that photo shoot with
Yes.
the fake head.
Yes.
It's disgusting.
Yes.
But she was surprised when average Americans said, this is wrong.
That's right.
They couldn't understand what we're thinking.
And
There's
that's
such a
why
divide in
judgment
America.
is going to come to America, people, if we don't turn to God. Don't be ashamed of God. God says if we are ashamed of Him, He will be ashamed of us. He said, be not deceived. God is not mocked. And we're mocking God. And here we see the article today. Sponsors are fleeing New York City theater company over Trump killing scene. Now, some major people pulled out.
Bank of America
Bank of
did.
America.
Yeah.
What's that?
I heard that Bank of America did. That's
Yes.
one of the big ones.
Delta Airlines.
Okay, but who did not pull out?
Oh.
Who is saying what?
Yeah, New York Times.
New York Times didn't pull out.
We have a
Lady
smart
in the audience
audience.
just said,
I heard that the mayor of New York City decided he still wants to support this play because it is art.
and there they are killing Donald Trump on a play in New York City on property that belongs to New York City people.
Another one was Time Warner. We were just that did not pull out, and they even had a person like a Melania Trump as the first lady. So it's obvious that they're talking about our president, and our First Lady, and we're not going to stand for it as believers.
But it's
as
getting
Christians.
worse and worse, Lori.
Every
it is getting
day.
worse and worse.
This
and
man
worse.
is made of, he has an iron constitution, like David Horowitz said the other day. He really does, and we have to keep praying for him, for his family. Even Ivanka Trump was on Fox the other day, Fox and Friends the other morning, and she said, you know, they knew going into it they were going to get hit pretty hard, you know, being the Trumps and all that. But she said it was nothing. Had no idea that it would be this bad.
Yeah.
Well, you know, the left got blindsided with President Trump being elected.
Yeah.
And the guest that we had here a few days ago wrote about this and said tremendous hatred in their hearts for those who oppose them. So you're seeing the hatred play out in so many different ways. And for people to understand what's happening, all one word can explain is hatred in their hearts. I mean, it's incredible the amount of expression of hate that is happening with the new administration. Listen, it goes back to respecting people. Even with, if you agree to disagree, it boils down to respecting the president's office and respecting who we have in office, regardless if we agree or disagree with the man. And I think it has to go back to that. The art has been lost. I don't consider art, at least, but I'm not an expert on that. But I think there's other ways to demonstrate, you know, different ways of art. Right. But it goes back to the left being blindsided with President Trump being elected. I don't think it has settled in yet.
Let's take a look at what Bernie Sanders said to a Christian who was appointed to the White House.
In the piece that I referred to that you wrote for a publication called Resurgent, you wrote, quote, Muslims do not simply have a deficient theology. They do not know God because they have rejected Jesus Christ, his son, and they stand condemned. End of quote. Do you believe that that statement is Islamophobic?
Absolutely not, Senator. I'm a Christian, and I believe in a Christian set of principles based on my faith. That post, as I stated in the questionnaire to this committee, was to defend my alma mater, Wheaton College, a Christian school that has a statement of faith that includes the centrality of Jesus Christ for salvation. And
again, I apologize. Forgive me. We just don't have a lot of time. Do you believe that people in the Muslim religion stand condemned? Is that your view?
Again, Senator, I'm a Christian, and I wrote that piece.
Well, what does that say?
With the statement of faith of Wheaton.
I understand that. I don't know how many Muslims there are in America. I really don't know. Probably a couple of million. Are you suggesting that all of those people stand condemned? What about Jews? They stand condemned too?
Senator, I'm a Christian.
I understand you are a Christian, but this country is made up of people who are not just. I understand that Christianity is the majority religion, but there are other people who have different religions in this country and around the world. In your judgment, do you think that people who are not Christians are going to be condemned?
Thank you for probing on that question. As a Christian, I believe that all individuals are made in the image of God and are worthy of dignity and respect, regardless of their religious beliefs. I believe that as a Christian, that's how I should treat all individuals.
And do you think your statement that you put into that publication, they do not know God because they've rejected Jesus Christ the Son and they stand condemned, do you think that's respectful of other religions?
Senator, I wrote a post based on being a Christian and attending a Christian school that has a statement of faith that speaks clearly with regard to the centrality of Jesus Christ in salvation.
I would simply say, Mr. Chairman, that this nominee is really not someone who is what this country is supposed to be about. I will vote no.
They're out. If you could yell to Jim Bakker through the TV, you would say, what do we do? What do we do then as
Well,
believers?
if they don't approve his nomination, I think we ought to start marching in the streets.
But not violently.
Well, no, dear God.
Not crazy.
But I'll tell you what, it's time to stand up.
Yes, it is.
Start pushing back.
Start pushing back. Ray, what would
I mean, if you guys don't want me around.
We want you around, honey.
I can't be still.
No, you
I can't shut
it's
up.
Literally
I can't be one of those quiet Christians because without Jesus, Derek, would you help me? You look almost as upset as I am.
And I want to hear what Ray has to say, too.
Yeah, and this is something Ray and I were talking about earlier. Both of us have ancestors that go back to the early days of this nation, pre-colonial times. And so, we've got a long history in this country. Both of us have ancestors who fought against the British to make America a nation and to establish it on the principle that, as Mr. Vaught said, that all men and women are created in the image of God and deserving of respect. God created us all with free will. But when the enemy starts bringing irrational people like Senator Sanders to the fore, and the country sits back and says, oh, he's making sense, like with this play in New York, or like with Kathy Griffin, oh, yeah, that's just art, that's funny. In what reality is that actually funny or art, or does Senator Sanders make sense?
But here's the thing, people. This is not just some little party something. This is not just some political thing. This is our eternity.
Yes, sir.
This is Jesus Christ, the Son of God. And I'm shocked at church. I'm shocked. I'm shocked that
Pastor
the church is
the problem, Pastor, is
away from God.
I don't see people. There's people like us, you, me, Derek, Ando, and everything. We're leaders. Right. People need more leadership. We need to get out there more and start speaking and be bold.
That's it. That's right.
We need to start pushing back.
The guest that was here a few days ago, I go back to that. He says, if you want to do something about it, go to the congressman, go to your senators, go to your mayor's office, get involved on what's going on locally in your state in order to affect the bigger office in D.C. But if you can't affect the state, how are you going to affect D.C.? And that's what we need to do. We got to get our pastors, our community leaders to get involved politically to affect the state office if we want to make a difference from the church perspective.
And to build on what David Horowitz was saying, that Christians aren't getting upset about this. It's because Christians don't know enough Bible to know what they should be upset about.
Oh,
but can't they get upset over the Jesus Christ is the Son of God?
But that's the problem, Pastor Jim. When you look at the research,
this is good, Derek.
When you look at the research of the Barna Group, and you see that only 9% of American adults have a biblical worldview, but only 17% of people who call themselves born-again Christians have a biblical worldview. They don't understand that this is a spiritual war. Like the Apostle Paul wrote, our wrestling match is not against human opponents. It's against principalities, powers, and rulers of spiritual wickedness.
Sure is.
We're wrestling against those supernatural entities that have been waging a rebellion against God for thousands and thousands of years.
Yes.
And until we start understanding that this is a battle that needs to be won on our knees, we're not getting it.
Yes,
because that's where we our first line of defense.
You're right.
Every week, our president is on trial with another trial.
Yes, every week.
They're trying to destroy the president of the United States without another election.
Right.
Nobody's upset about it. You say, oh, well, just let the president fight those battles.
It's the new norm.
It's not right, people. And this is what we're seeing here. Just today, the two news stories I brought to you today is enough to upset me.
Right.
But I'll tell you what, it's happening every day. And if we get more and more, and what's happened, we let all this go on and on and on and on. We let television be changed.
Yes.
They took Jesus out of the schools.
Yes.
Then they took him out of all television. They've taken everything spiritual out. Even Merry Christmas was removed.
Remember,
and very few people stood up.
Right. Bill O'Reilly and we did. I can remember Bill O'Reilly and Jim Bakker. I mean, it was kind of a funny combination.
Bill O'Reilly.
And now, look, and now look what's happened. But he did help get Merry Christmas back in Walmarts and places like that across the country, and so did we, because we stood up and we said something.
Pastor Jim, I've never seen such an effort, and I have to applaud Mr. Voigt, because I've never seen such a public outing trying to get him to deny his fundamental faith.
Yeah, you're right.
And if he doesn't get elected, if he doesn't get put in, then I think Bernie Sanders just proved that basing somebody's religious beliefs that they can be put out of office.
Right.
If he doesn't get in, what Christians need to do is we need to start writing our Congress, other congressmen and senators and everything, and demand that Bernie Sanders is arrested. He broke the law. He produced a religious litmus test against this gentleman, and that is against the law. That is against the First Amendment.
Absolutely.
That's how we start pushing back.
You know, Ray, your book is called Survive the Coming Storm. And the storm has already begun,
Yeah.
I believe. I believe we're seeing, you know, whenever there's a big storm coming, you can feel it, you can see it, you can sense it in the air,
pressure, yeah.
you know.
Yeah.
And especially if there's a big hurricane, tornado or something coming.
Yes.
You can feel
You
it.
can feel those tornadoes
And,
coming.
When you wrote a book, Survive the Coming Storm, what is the storm in your estimation? What's coming?
There are so many things that be coming down the pipeline. Economic problems, riots, we're seeing that. I see a little spiritual war taking place right now between the right and the left, or the good and evil. And that is a storm that's greatly coming. I mean, you look at pictures of riots taking place in the streets, and they're holding up signs saying, "Hail Satan." They are being bold about it. People that, I don't know if you saw the video of them going into a city council meeting, breaking this meeting down and screaming out, "Hail Satan."
I didn't see the Hail Satan one.
Yeah.
You
Go to my
guys might have
website. You
seen
can see it. I got some of my
Wow.
It's these people are being bold, and they are telling who they serve. We as Christians, what we're doing is we're bickering between ourselves so much over minor issues that the enemy, all he has to do is just sit back, enjoy, and let us do our own, cannibalize ourselves in a sense.
Yeah, you're right. I watched you on a YouTube video, and that's what you said. You sounded like Jim Bakker, and I was going to go over and show it to you, and then I got distracted. You know how that happens, cleaning the house or something. I don't know, but I was watching you literally, and I was like, you're right. It sounds like you, honey, how you always talk about how we eat. Here we are bickering over ridiculous stuff in the church, and it's not important, non-importance.
The enemy is organized. His foot soldiers are organized. Bernie Sanders is an excellent example. But what we need to do as Christians is we need to get organized. We need to put this petty stuff aside, organize, and start pushing back. That's my motto, start pushing back. We've got to start doing this so that we can make a difference for the Lord. Amen. Otherwise, we're going to lose our nation, and we're the thing that we're going to leave to our grandchildren.
Yes.
Everything is going to be communism.
Yes, scary.
You met with a friend in, 1993, and a prophecy. They gave you a prophecy, and it's changed your life.
Well, what he did is I used to be into Bible prophecy when I was younger. And I kind of fell away from the Lord, did the prodigal son thing. And Tim came back, hi Tim. Tim pulled me aside one day, and he was my true friend. And he said, dude, you need to get right with the Lord again, because this is happening, this is happening. He was talking about the microchip and this guy named Maitreya and all this other Bible prophecy stuff that's taking place. And it literally scared me straight. And it's like, wow, I need to get back with the Lord. Yeah. And ever since then, I've been doing that and doing prophesying and just doing what I need to do to share the hope.
Good.
And the prophetic things that the Bible talks about, the things that changed my life so much when I was in the prison years studying night and day, the revelation. Everything that comes will come suddenly.
That's right.
It's not going to have, you're not going to have time to fix it. You're not going to have time to prepare after the event takes place.
That's right.
They're going to come suddenly. And I believe that we're in these days.
Yes.
And a lot of people right now are praying that it's going to be peace and safety.
Yeah.
But the Bible says when it's peace and safety, then sudden destruction takes place. And people are not ready. It's going to be the harvest time.
Yes,
I believe there's going to be earthquakes because Jesus said so.
Yep.
I believe there's going to be storms. I believe all these things are going to take place. But they're going to become a situation where you won't be able to prepare. This last few weeks, there's been more and more earthquakes coming.
Yeah.
And this is one thing Jesus warned us. He said, the sign of my coming back, one of the things will be there's going to be earthquakes in diverse places, which just means many places. And we had earthquakes here, right here. We don't have earthquakes.
There's actually 3 earthquakes that were centered around Harrison.
Wow. Yeah, well, we felt it here at Morningside. Some of you felt it here that live here in this area, and some of you out here felt it.
Yeah, it struck at 7:40 in the morning.
Yeah,
it was a 3.6 earthquake.
Wow.
Well, Israel is predicting a great earthquake. Yeah. Israel braces for next big thing to shake the Middle East. That's now. It's the shaking that has begun. And 10 hertz, 6.2 magnitude quake shakes the Greek islands in Turkey. So earthquakes are happening all over the place.
Right.
Events are taking place. And you need to be prepared. Are you a prepper? Would you call yourself a prepper?
Yeah. I wrote a book about it, yes.
Yeah.
Big time, yeah.
So you believe in practical prepping as
very
far
much
as
so.
food
Very
and
much so.
all of that?
What people don't understand, especially with Christians, is that God mandates it. He tells us to do this. He says, always be ready to share the hope in meekness and fear. Always means always. Always is in good times. Always is in bad times. Always. And if we are not always ready, then how do we share the hope?
Right.
And by being prepared, by having food on hand, by having these things on hand, it's less of a distraction now that the enemy can use against us.
That's right.
And now I have that freedom because I'm not burdened with, oh, wow, what are my kids going to eat?
Right.
Or whatever. And I can now share the hope.
Exactly. And people will listen about Jesus. We've said it a million times on this broadcast, but I know for a decade I worked in the inner city, went down, and that's how I ended up adopting our kids and all of that, by meeting them in the inner city. But you know what? We would always go down and feed them first. Give those little babies, give those little tummies some food, and then we would teach them Bible stories and teach them about Jesus. And then they would want us to meet their moms, typically. Usually dads weren't around, but typically moms. And the next thing you know, 20 years later, Jim and Lori Bakker adopt 5 Mexican kids, and they were from the inner city. But that's how it happens. And so that is so real, because you have to be practical with the food. That's why we have all these amazing food offers for you. I know, Jim, you were going to go to one earlier, but we have these individual buckets now that we have available, like the Fiesta bucket, probably Mondo's favorite.
I keep worrying about the people who never started.
Me
to get
too.
ready.
Me too. Just do something. Just do something to get started.
I know, Ray, was your family preppers? How did you come by it naturally?
My mother is a Depression-era child. And because of that, I learned a lot of that. And then I was in the military. I was in special operations and learned a lot of stuff there. Yeah. And then the Loma Prieta earthquake also had a lot of effect on me. Other events like Rita and Katrina had effects on me. So it's all these things combined has created this preparedness mindset, and I live it. I live a preparedness mindset.
Right. I think that we all need to be living a preparedness mindset all the time.
They're talking about EMP that could come. It just broke this morning.
Right. Yes.
An EMP could hit the United States of America, and they're worried about the computer situation.
Hacking,
all the hacking and all that's going on.
Yeah, I mean, that's the new way of shutting down banks and hospitals, cities, towns. This is the new type of war that Dr. Vincent Pry has been talking to us about for so many months already. And I think this is the problem that most people don't think is real.
Yeah.
Because it's become a conspiracy theory that has been talked about for so long that until it happens, I think it's going to be a little bit too late by the time we get ready.
Something that people need to think about, too, and you were asking me what are things that can happen?
Yes.
The pink slip. How many people out there have been given the pink slip? How long does it now take to get a job? At least a year. If you have food on hand, that's one less worry, one less expense that you need to be worried about. So then you can then focus getting on a good job and focus on sharing the hope.
That's right. That's so
unexpected
practical.
events like the recent flooding that we had here, where the bridge across Table Rock Lake was closed. Things like that.
Exactly.
Or a bridge collapse somewhere. We're talking about the infrastructure of the United States being, to the point where bridges and roads and the electrical grid is outdated. Was it a few years back? When was it when that squirrel took down the power grid there?
That's right. Oh, yeah.
Squirrel.
Right.
But something
a few days
unexpected.
Ago, a major city in another spot of the world, their grid was shut down. And this is what they're concerned about in the United States of America. And this is what our leaders who don't con us all the time, the ones who really believe in truth, they've been warning us about the EMP bomb. And all of these things, the Bible talks about perilous times. But yet church people say, I'm not going to prepare.
Right.
I don't believe these things will ever happen. Well, Jesus said they would happen.
Yes.
The Bible tells us they're going to happen. And it's very, very important to be ready. We're living in the most evil, wicked time of the United States of America in the history of our country. At all the times of the United States of America. And if we don't turn to God, there's no hope. And I believe that according to the scriptures, these troubled times are coming. And, you know, I've been talking about today a little bit about getting one thing. Just start with one thing and say, I'm going to start. Oh, this is a good one.
Yeah.
Ricky, we could do this, couldn't we?
Oh, yes.
This is Ricky's birthday's coming up in a few days.
Yes.
So we're gonna we could have a birthday party out of this bucket, Rick.
Oh. A little fiesta.
This is a fiesta. But here's the thing. At least, you know, like a trouble time, like a couple days.
Yes.
Like the power's gone. Or,
right.
Or you can't get to the store because the trees are down over the roads.
Right.
Or whatever.
Or you can't get across the bridge. Like, we couldn't have gotten from our house to your house, for instance, the other day, Derek, when they said the first time in history that bridge was
Since that
closed.
bridge was constructed, yeah.
Right. I mean, crazy. It was, people were freaking out.
No, we have this idea that because it hasn't happened yet, it will never happen.
Exactly.
Yeah.
They closed massive bridges in this area.
Yes.
Because the rivers were at the highest they'd ever been.
Pastor Jim, in my book, I did a lot of research on foods and everything, and I was really glad when I saw that you're doing Augustin Farms.
Yes.
Augustin Farms, and I don't know if you folks realize this, Augustin Farms is one of the Cadillac foods of preparedness foods. This stuff rocks.
You know, Adam?
Yeah, totally.
Mark and
no, I don't know the individuals. I would love to meet them.
They're amazing people.
Augustin Farm people.
They're the best in the world.
This is Cadillac food, and what people are so concerned. Oh, I've got my rice, beans, and lentils and wheat. You know, I'm good. No. You need variety. You need good variety. Otherwise, you start suffering what's called food fatigue, appetite fatigue, and that's deadly. It will kill you.
Right.
But with having good food on hand, and I'm looking at your prices.
Right.
Pastor Jim, your prices are good. And folks, I am not saying this because for a plug or anything like that. This is what I wrote about in my book. This stuff is good. You are getting the Cadillac of food from Pastor Jim. This is an investment. Food is an investment. That's what people need to start looking at, too.
It is an investment.
I would like people to just, everyone watching that have never ordered a bucket of food, to order a bucket of food today.
That's right.
Here's a bucket of food right here. This is one. We'll just say this is a Mexican food.
Yes.
This is an amazing, amazing bucket of food.
Yes.
And it only
look at that.
This is how many servings of food? Does anybody know?
Yeah, you get 196 servings.
So almost 200 meals.
Yes.
Of food in this Mexican bucket. And what's some of the stuff in it?
You get Spanish rice, freeze-dried chicken, tacos, refried beans, tortillas, scrambled eggs with bacon-flavored bits, corn chips, enchilada red sauce, fajita seasonings, cheese sauce, shredded cheese, and my favorite, salsa. Oh.
Salsa.
This is a value of $155, so you're saving $55. Don't be afraid to order this bucket. I've met so many people that say, you guys are fear-mongering. No, listen, can I just give you the scripture? Psalms 37, verse 3. Trust in the Lord and do good. Dwell in the land and practice faithfulness. Delight yourself in the Lord and he will give you the desires of your heart. And the very last one, commit your way to the Lord. Trust also in him and he will bring it to pass. Trust, delight, and commit. That's what you're doing when you order this food today and you're not fearing anything. You're trusting in God, committing on God, and delighting yourself in the presence of God, knowing that you took care of your family in the time of need.
Yeah. Here's the thing. Right? This is a bucket of food you can't get anywhere else unless they're getting it from this company. We created this here.
Yes, we did.
We of course, Augustin Farms helped us with it, but this is something that we said, you know, we love Mexican food. Why can't we have a Mexican food bucket?
We love Mexican food.
And so we all put it together. We worked on it. Mondo, you did some of the final testing, I think, at your house.
I did.
Because you've got 2 beautiful twins.
Yes, I did.
And they're going to be 7 years old in a few hours.
Just a few hours. I can't believe it.
Crazy.
I tell you what I did for my household. My wife is Mexican-American, so she was used to her grandma's beans, and God forbid you come against grandma's beans, right? Well, guess what? These beans outdone her grandma's beans.
Oh, my.
Even today, she said, please get 2 more buckets of the Fiesta buckets and come home with it. Again, this is delicious. You're right. This
Do you
is
think the Lennon sisters would like this?
Absolutely, we would.
His wife's mother is one of the Lennon sisters. And so the people don't know the Lennon sisters are Mexicans. Why don't we send home today one of these buckets to every one of the Lennon sisters?
I would do it.
Tell
Absolutely.
them, we want you to try it and eat it. Because this is something that you could eat now.
Yeah.
Yes.
And this is something, where could you take a bucket like this? I'm wanting to show it on the screen. Where in the world can you take something like this, put it in your cabin out in the country, put it somewhere, and 25 years from now, it's still food. It's still good.
That's it.
Because this is very rare. There's only a few companies in America that make 25-year shelf life food.
Right.
And so this food here is absolutely amazing.
And it's so easy to make, Pastor, that all you have to do is add water to it, and in less than 30 minutes on most of these dishes, you will have an amazing meal right before your eyes. And oh my Lord, it is so, the taste, the texture, the smell when it's cooking, it doesn't smell like, something died. It smells like really good beans, and the cheese and the salsa. I think we need to cook right now, but I'm not going to go there. I'm not dressed to cook.
They'll save $55 today.
Yes.
On this is a $155 bucket of there's just no food like this in survival food.
As a bonus, you will receive 1 box of the Frontier Bites, and you can either choose either macadamia, pineapple, coconut, or pecan, cherry, cinnamon, or almond, blueberry, lemon.
This rocks.
You like it?
It's
I know. I tried it the first time.
It's all healthy food.
It's all healthy.
Not snack junk.
Well, I like
only 100 calories per serving.
That's good. I like what you just said, Ray. I mean, this is our first time meeting Ray, in person, and the wonderful thing that you just said that I'm going to borrow from you from here on out, and it's true. Augustin Farms, who makes this food, is truly the Cadillac.
It is.
You could even go and say it's the Mercedes of whatever you want to say.
Well,
and there's only 2 or 3 maximum of any companies that make this kind of food anymore in America.
What people are doing is going to gun shows and buying a case of MREs. You get 12 MREs for $65, and those are disgusting.
They are disgusting.
For a little bit more, you get great food at a great price, and you get a boatload of servings, whatever you said. And again, folks, I am not plugging this because of Bakker, Jim Bakker, and all this other stuff. I believe in this food. This is good stuff.
It is.
196 servings. The black bean burger also.
Ricky has
we have a deal today on this too. These burgers, you can grill them outside. They won't fall through your grill. Your grill,
the grill.
Because we had to make them several times. In the early days when we were creating it, we create this stuff.
Right. Now, this one, let me just say, this is the gluten-free black bean burger bucket. And I personally like gluten-free if I can get it. And it's 215 servings. You also get another bonus. You get the bonus of the Frontier Bites with a choice of whichever one you'd like. Of the three. And it's, again, 25-year shelf life. Now, what do we keep in our pantry, Ricky Baker, every single day?
We have a bucket of black bean burgers in our pantry. We have a Mexican Fiesta bucket, and we have Silver Sol.
That's right. And we have Silver Sol. Cannot live without our silver.
So we don't have to run down to the store to get hamburger to make a hamburger.
Right.
We make a bean burger.
Yep.
And by the time you put ketchup and mustard and pickles and all the other stuff on it, you've got the best tasting burger.
It's a great meat substitution in general. You can crush it up and make it taco meat. You can make it meatloaf. You can make it a A black bean burger, it's great for anything.
It is.
Another thing that you can do with this is take your hamburger and actually expand or extend it. So instead of using a full pound of hamburger, take a half pound of hamburger
I never thought
and
of
then
that.
take 1 cup of the stuff and mix it together, and you now have a pound and a half
You just gave up. You're
Boy, is
the first
that an
person that
extended-
ever gave us that idea.
It extends it. So you can go down and buy a very inexpensive hamburger, the 50-50 or the, the what, something 70, and mix it with this, and you can then extend the
So you can eat it now.
Yeah.
And that's what we say. All of our food is edible. It's good. It's good. And this is so good for people who want to eat right.
Yes.
You folks that are worried about cholesterol. You don't want to have your body fall apart.
That's right.
And this is what is so amazing.
And all you have to do is just add water, stir it up, add water, no refrigeration needed, and it is certified gluten-free. So
It's individual packages, so when you open it, it's not like you're opening the whole bucket and it's going to dry out. So you can just take one and try it.
Yeah.
So good.
You know, Pastor Jim, Ray, he wrote this book of Coming Storm. And I think one important thing that we really need to remember is if you're considering ordering one of these buckets, you need to order one today. To not wait for an event to happen.
Right.
What you want to do is you want to order one of these. You actually want to order 2, save one for later, but practice with one of these. So that way you know what to expect. You know, if something should happen, if the emergency event should come up, that you'll know what to do. You'll know how to prepare the food, and it won't be stressful. So make it easy on yourself, and it'll give you confidence for when that day comes.
Well, this book is very good and practical. I like this.
If you want to get Ray's book, Survive the Coming Storm, The Value of a Preparedness Lifestyle.
Yes.
This will give you a whole book full of material and stuff that we've never thought of, just like he gave us a great idea.
I love that.
For
I love practical
extending the
tips.
hamburgers.
Mm-hmm.
And all the ideas in here, even how to do hydrated foods,
Yeah,
and
hydrate foods, yeah.
to do it yourself, and all these different systems of how to build a survival center in your own home.
I like that.
It was me and my kids that were guinea pigs. And if it worked for us, and also with the food and everything too, if my wife and kids will eat it, anybody will eat it.
Right.
They are the most picky eaters in the world. But all the things in my book I talk about, we lived, we tried out, we were the guinea pigs. It works, folks.
You guys sound like us, right? Everything that we offer to you, we try everything out first. Absolutely. That's the same thing.
If you order the book for $15 gift today,
yes,
we're going to give you another great book. This is totally amazing book.
It is.
Also, it's called I Predict What 12 Global Experts Believe You Will See Before 2025.
Like Tom Horn, Joel Richardson, Mark Biltz, Carl Gallups, Josh Tolley, Derek Gilbert, Josh Peck, Larry, how do you say Larry's last name? Spargimino, thank you. Troy Anderson, Dr. Gordon McDonald, Sharon Gilbert, Paul McGuire. This is amazing. Wow.
And these are what's coming up as well as Survival the Coming Storm. And tomorrow's broadcast, we're going to talk a lot more about what is coming. What does he mean by survive? And you'll want to get this book to read in your own home, to have your own books for preparedness. But so if you order the Survive the Coming Storm, you're going to receive as a bonus free.
That's
this is
incredible.
This is not an old book. This I can't believe.
How can we do this?
Because we know the publisher. But I predict.
How in the world?
12 global experts. Your part's in his too.
Yes, Derek is.
Isn't it, Derek?
Yes.
What did you do?
I wrote
with this
about
book?
the future of the Temple Mount and the Ark of the Covenant.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
There is so much hostility over who gets to control it. In fact, just this week, Muslims were banned from the Temple Mount. Israeli police had to shut it down because they were throwing rocks at people Jews and Christians who wanted to visit the Temple Mount.
That's what they do.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yes.
Things will get more interesting as we approach the 70th anniversary of Israel's independence next May, when Sharon and I are blessed to be leading a tour with Dr. Michael Heiser, who you met not long ago.
Yes.
We're leading a tour there next year. We're going to be in Jerusalem, God willing, on the 70th anniversary of Israel's independence.
How exciting.
So, yeah.
Did your wife write?
She did. She wrote about the age of hybrids, the hybrid age beginning, transhumanism, and what role it plays.
Well, you know, a lot of people, they sort of look at Tom Horn and those of us who are trying to warn about transhumanism and how we are being altered genetically and enhanced through various robotic products. The fact is, most people who are on Facebook and YouTube and other social media, we have news fed to us every day that is changing the way we think. And if Christians aren't careful, we're going to find ourselves believing the lie that the Antichrist is going to tell the whole world. Wow. Remember what Jesus said? If it were possible.
Is it true that robots will be able to take over, just literally, that they already are learning what human beings?
They are, and they're using social media against us. They're using every photograph we upload to social media to train those artificial intelligences on how to tell who is doing what, where they are, what they're thinking, and it's all going to be used in the world of Antichrist against Christians.
And the thing that's astonishing is that some of the tech experts like Elon Musk has said that the development of artificial intelligence is literally summoning the demon. Those were his words.
Yes.
And yet he says, but we need to do it.
And he says an artificial intelligence will be sufficient to rule the world within 10 years.
Wow. We're living in frightening times. And you know, Ray, the experts, there's a headline today, Jim Rogers, one of the financial experts, he said the worst crash in our lifetime is coming soon.
No, I totally believe it. Like it or not, and they're going to blame Donald Trump for it, but we've got officially, 19 trillion in debt.
Yes.
Unofficially, 70 trillion. But if you go to Shadow Stats is reporting about 120 trillion in debt. This is stuff that our government, no matter what, whoever's in office or anything, is not going to be able to do anything about realistically. So we are going to see this storm coming. This is the major storm that I'm watching.
Do you write about the financial storm?
Oh, yes, very much so.
In this book?
Yeah, that's my main concern, is the financial storm. Because again, no matter who's in office or anything, that debt is there. They just can't come and go bing and make it go away.
Right.
So that we're going to have to be prepared for this, no matter who's president, who's in office, what's going on, or anything like that. We're going to have to be ready for this.
Yes.
You in your book, you talk about three types of people in the crisis. The sheep. The sheepdogs, and this is funny, the sheep, the sheepdogs, and the wolves.
The wolves. One of the reasons why I wear my hat is I'm a crusader. I'm a sheepdog. We as Christians need to start standing up and start pushing back, start taking taking control again. We have subjected, or we have capitulated so much with the enemy that we now have what we have, a horrible State of the Union that is got a lot of Bernie Sanders and other people like that. What we need to do is we need to stand up and start being the sheepdogs again. There's a lot of people who have their head in the sand. Those are the sheep. But there's people like Bernie Sanders and so forth who are the wolves, wanting to attack us. And we as sheepdogs, we just need to say, you know what? No more.
Wow. It's good.
And in a troubled time, the problem with those the wolves, they will eat you.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, literally, the Bible says people will eat each other, physically eat to stay alive.
Sure.
That's how bad things are going to be in the final days. That's according to the scriptures anyway.
I have some exciting news for you right now, Jim Bakker. This is You guys need some excitement here. Okay, Ray is sitting here next to me. Ray, you tell Jim what the things that you just told me about. This is your first time seeing our generator.
Yeah, I mean, we don't have Jim Bakker show down in Panama.
Okay, because you were in Panama for 4 years, and then the Lord called you back to the States.
Yes.
Now, listen to this, Jim. You're going to be blown away by this. Ray had a solar farm down in Panama. Remember when we were in St. Kitts and we saw that solar farm?
Yes.
That's what he had down there.
Yeah.
Off the grid, lived off the grid. So now he's watching this. They just came back.
Yeah, about
Texas.
6-8 weeks ago.
That's literally just a few days ago. And seeing our generator for the first time, and you were sitting here looking at it going, this is really an amazing deal. Great
Just
value.
running all the numbers off of what I know from Amazon and everything, what you've got there is probably about $5,600 to $6,500 worth of product, and you're giving it away for $4,200. This is an insane deal, and this is like we're just talking to Derek here. He needs a well. He needs his well water.
We've got a well. We live up on a ridge up there, by Tom Horn's place, and our well goes down 600 feet. But it goes down 350 feet before it hits water.
Wow.
And I contacted a company out in California that sells manual pumping equipment to try to, have water if the power ever goes out. And he said, you ain't strong enough to draw water up 350. You need a generator.
Yes.
But this would be a great solution. And I mean, this is an insane solution that they've offered here.
Yeah.
Go out to Amazon and run the numbers yourself, and you'll see what I'm talking about. And it's just, I don't know why people aren't taking advantage of this.
Right, exactly, and not getting prepared now.
Yes.
I've been in the dark several times in my lifetime.
When the power
and I'll tell you
has
what,
been out.
I don't want to be in the dark. I don't want to live in the dark.
Not when it's cold out and not when it's hot out. I'm going to tell you, either way. One thing I wanted to say real quick, though, before I forget, is in Ray's book, right here, I love this statement, and Jim, it's exactly what you've been saying all day, basically, past few shows. Preventing overwhelming burnout. And this is what Ray says here. With baby steps, one can accomplish just about anything at any given time. Ray says, I'm a big fan of taking baby steps, and I am always asking the Lord to guide me down the path my wife and I should take. I want to share with you what my wife and I just consider our life's Bible verse, and I think most of us would agree this is one of the greatest. Trust in the Lord with all thine heart, and lean not unto thine own understanding. In all thy ways acknowledge him, and he shall direct thy paths. That's so amazing because he will direct our paths if we'll trust in him. We will lean on his understanding and his ways. And then when we have offers like this, and you're sitting here listening to it, and you're like, this is a good thing for all of us to get involved with.
This book is so different than the average prepper book.
Yes.
This has so many. Mm-hmm. Do you have any idea how many pieces of information in this book? I mean, different things and things that I want to do that I've never done. Because
I have no idea. God, he just used me. So
and you just said yes.
But this book is only $15.
It's amazing.
And we're giving you this other book.
That's right.
That is also a great book that you ought to have.
Right.
And it's called
I Predict.
Ray, one of the things that I wanted to ask you about in your book, you talk about being physically healthy and training.
Yes.
And I'm concerned about a lot of people. If the power goes out, if the things fall down and they're not ready, and then the hospitals are not able to open. That's one of the awful things. And then not be able to have doctors, not be able to get to the doctors, not be able to be taken care of, and yet people neglect their health. And I think one of the things for survival, I work on my health all the time.
Yes.
And I just had a crisis kind of in my health that I didn't realize. And it was because of an error that was made on my health. And so someday I'll tell you the whole story after I get through this whole thing. And I started finding out that I wasn't well in certain area. And I said, well, what in the world's going on? So I went, Dr. Don came to be on the show a few months ago. Remember when Dr. Don was here?
Yes.
So he starts checking me and checks and had my blood had been checked, and so he had the whole, and he said, well, Jim, there's something wrong here, here, and here. And we found out that I wasn't taking the right vitamin or the right thing for certain things.
Wow.
And by mistake, somebody had given me too much of a certain vitamin.
Right.
And it was making me very, very sick and killed me, actually. And, you know, it's so sensitive. You can be healed by eating right, by doing right. But you can also be made sick by eating too much of the wrong stuff.
Yeah.
That's right.
And so you talk about in your book about exercising.
Yes.
And, you know, I think, you know, I always say, I used to teach on TV that, you know, Grandma, if you can't lift weights, get a couple little cans of beans, the small ones.
Exactly.
You know,
it's what I do is, I'm using some cans of food while I'm waiting for my coffee to be made. Or I'll lean up against the cabinet and just pump out some push-ups.
Right.
I'm standing there waiting for my coffee anyways. Why not utilize that time to work out, do well, and get some body moving in the morning? But we do that. But in Scripture, it talks in Timothy about if we as men, or just we as men, we don't do right by our family, we don't provide for their health and welfare, it says we're worse than the infidel.
Right.
And that is what we need to be doing. Again, this is all part of prepping and living that prepper lifestyle, is doing the right thing for your family, doing the right thing for your community, and then being able to have the chance to share the hope.
Thank you for watching today's program with our special guests, Ray Gaino and Derek Gilbert. Ray and Derek will be back tomorrow, so don't miss out. Please call us today at 1-888-988-1588 to order any of the products we talked about on today's show. You can also write us today at P.O. Box 7330, Branson, Missouri 65615. Or you can visit our website at jimbakkershow.com. Again, thank you for watching, and remember, God loves you. He really does. Bye-bye for today.
Coming soon to Morningside and the Jim Bakker Show. Pastor Frank Amedia returns on Tuesday, June 27th. Bobby Connor returns to Morningside on Thursday, June 29th. Mike and Cindy Jacobs return to Morningside on Tuesday, July 4th. Our friends Pat and Karen Schatzline will be back at Morningside on Wednesday, July 5th. Tom Horn, Jennifer LeClaire, Donna Howell, and Derek Gilbert return to the Jim Bakker Show on Friday, July 7th. Don't forget our annual 4th of July celebration, July 1st through the 8th, a Morningside tradition. Come on out and join us for music, worship, ministry, teaching, prophetic words, and so much more, with guests like John Shorey, James Huey, Bobby Connor, Bill the Junkman Whaley, Hubie Sin, Dr. Cheryl Selman, and many more. Lieutenant Colonel Robert McGinnis will return to Morningside Friday, July 28th. We're honored to have evangelist Alveda King with us Thursday, August 24th. Author and prophet Rick Joyner will be sharing a powerful word. Join us every night at 7 p.m. for The Prophet Speak, an evening filled of worship and ministry. For our full schedule, go online to jimbakkershow.com. We can't wait for you to see what God's doing here at Morningside.